Hello everyone and welcome back. So today we're talking about Handmaid's Tale episode 5, Chicago. And all I kept thinking was anybody but Janine. And I think the writers overestimate how much we actually like June. And to be honest, we don't like her. And the reason for this is because every character is made in her image. It's in contrast to June. And because of that, everything is meant to emphasize that nobody can do anything without June's help. And I think the show could have been salvaged, or at least been watchable, if they were able to just keep it as a collaborative effort. But the minute they killed Alma and Brianna, I remember thinking, like, Janine, you got 2 to 3 business minutes before they kill your ass off. And it's really sad because the way they portray Janine, it's like they took away all the autonomy that she had last episode and just turned her into this child that was incapable of making any decisions without June. And the reality is Janine dead? We're not sure. You know what I mean? It could go either way. But to be honest, like, there are not a lot of likable characters left. And I understand they have to get to the end and eventually she has to get back to Canada. So, you know, Serena and Fred can have their trial. But killing off the few characters that we like or just kind of teasing us with this is really unnecessary. So we'll start off. We'll talk about the episode and then I'll give you my final thoughts on that very, very, very cringy ending. Ooh. Okay, so the episode starts off with a flashback of June and her husband. And her husband does not know if she loves him anymore. Like, he's kind of having doubts in his head. And it's appropriate because she'll probably be reunited with him soon enough. So the dream cuts away and we're kind of left with reality. Janine kind of had to give herself over to this commander. And I didn't really like that scene, but this resistance is pretty useless. So we get a better picture of what these people are trying to do. And it seems like they're just trying to survive. Like, there doesn't seem to be any real strategy. Why this guy is the leader, I'm still not clear what his expertise is or what any of these people's expertise are. Like, it doesn't seem they're very good at anything. And so we have 2 points of view. We have June's point of view and Janine's point of view. Janine's point of view is survival. She's like, the reality is, this might be it. Okay, like, have you seen the outside? And as they're exploring with this resistance, you see that, like, this place is getting bombed all the time. There's soldiers everywhere. So even if you were to leave them, there's no guarantee that you're going to make it to the other side. Like, there's no guarantee you're going to survive a night. And so Janine's thinking is, to be honest, this might be it. And I really don't like the emphasis or this kind of, like, talking down to Janine, like she doesn't know she's being, you know, used and abused by this commander. Like, of course she knows. She knows, but she's trying to be a realist, okay? She's trying to help her survive. And the irony is, without Janine, honestly, June would have been off that. She would have been off. They would have kicked her out a long time ago because, so, you know, during this time you see her, like, she's kind of being shown how to use a gun by this guy and she keeps vouching for June. She's like, hey, without her, we wouldn't be here. Or like, hey, you should really take her with them. Or hey, like, really trying to get June in. And June's attitude is like, I'm still the leader. I don't need any of y'all. And the weird thing is that she wants a gun. So she can sense that their time is running out and she needs weapons, but that's just not how you're gonna get weapons, my dear. That's just not it. June's perspective is that this is a waste of time. We need to get out of here. These people are not Mayday. She refuses to make friends. That one gentleman that came over and he was like, what's your name? She's like, I'm not interested. I don't need friends like that. And I could understand why she was being standoffish, but at the same time, it's like, you don't have a plan, girl. So it seems like these resistance, these people are kind of sitting ducks because we cut away to Lydia, the Commander Lawrence, and Nick. And so Lydia, praise be, is no longer in charge of the handmaids. And so she's been demoted to a treadmill. And so she's desperately trying to get her power back. Commander Lawrence, for some bizarre reason, is still alive. He still feels like there's a way to salvage Gilead. And so he kind of suggests to this committee of monsters that we need money. And the only way to do it is to allow aid into these places, just so we can at least get our economy up and running again. And I love the kind of punchline they made. They're like, oh, first of all, it was your handmaid that left. She keeps escaping again. And it's like, they're pretty much out of plot lines at this point. How Nick is alive, I don't know, because he is basically looking for June. And it seems like everybody knows that he's had a relationship with her and they're just kind of fed up with him as well. So he kind of gets a lead into figuring out that she's in Chicago. And so he's trying to, I guess, help her save herself. We're not sure what Nick's motivations are. I think he's just a dude in love trying to get his girl back, but the way he's doing it is pretty warped in my opinion. So Aunt Lydia kind of devises a way to blackmail her way back to her job. So she approaches Commander Lawrence and says, hey, I know that you're a liar. I know that you helped June. I'm gonna expose you if you don't help me. And Commander Lawrence says, okay, whatever, like, we'll help each other. And so Lawrence kind of modifies his plan and says, okay, here's what we'll do to kind of like, you know, get some power back again. We'll promise them aid, and just before the aid arrives, we're gonna bomb the hell out of them. And who's in charge of this bombing, or kind of making sure everything goes off as planned? Nick. And Nick is terrified because he knows that June is there. And so there's kind of there's a clock running on all this. And you feel that through kind of June's, you know, claustrophobia with the place. Like, she really just doesn't want to be there. And so she goes over to Janine and says, we have to leave right now. And this conversation was horrible for a lot of reasons. First, I'm tired of the close-ups on June's face whenever she's angry. Like, Elizabeth Moss is a very competent actor. We don't need the close-ups, okay? It becomes kind of unwatchable. And so she's talking to Janine and she's saying, don't you see that, you know, he's using you, and don't you see this and that? And Janine is just like, hello, you judgmental, you know, like, of course I know that, but this place is a dead end. Maybe I can have a life here. And again, like, some of the dialogue they give Janine, it just takes away her autonomy again. And there's a fine line between being nice and being optimistic to just kind of being like dumb. And they kind of make her say things that just are not that flattering. And again, it's to contrast with June, right? June is the one who's logical. She's the one with the plan. She's the one that's going to get them out of there. And then our girl Janine says something that I'm glad, you know, she needs to emphasize more. She says, hey, you know what? We don't need you to save us, just like you did Alma and Brianna. Like, you don't know what you're doing. Because if you really cared about us, you snitched us out. And so June is pissed off. She walks away. We get the close-up of her face. And she decides, you know what? I'm going to go it alone. And so we get to the end. And so the end scene, June was going to be on her way. And I really wish they let June be on her way and gave Janine just some type of autonomy and left her behind. Because by the end, there was no point to any of it. So of course, Janine decides to come with June because handmaids, you know, are in pairs, and she feels safer with her around, which was so ironic because of what happened at the end. And so as June and Janine are trying to get away, they get bombed. And this bombing, okay, they should have just ended the scene of the bombing. That way we don't know if June's alive and if we don't know that Janine's alive. That would have been better. Instead, they dragged it out. They had the audacity to play Fix You. I had to turn down the volume because I was cringing so hard. Like, I was like, what is this? And of course, June survives. Again, we don't know if Janine's alive or dead, but the fact that they're teasing us with this is really unnecessary because you basically don't have any likable characters left. And the slow motion and Moira saying June, like, that was just, it just cheapened everything. I despised that last scene. It was unnecessary. And it just, like, the soundtrack was okay. They were doing okay with the score up until now, and you can't throw in Fix You. Fix You should be banned from, like, television at this point. But I get that she has to get back with her friends and to her husband, but the way they're doing it is just at the expense of these characters that, you know, we've come to feel comfortable around and feel, you know, at peace with and at ease with. So in the end, I really didn't like how they ended that. I think it's really telling that every time, like, there's some character development, especially at the end of the last episode, you know, we got this backstory, we got all this information. So to kind of tease us with this is, you defeated your own purpose. And again, like, I don't think that she's dead because they literally can't afford to lose characters, but my thoughts were, yeah, like, it was a bridge too far for me. But we'll see what happens in the next episode. You guys let me know what you think because I was cringing hard in the last, like, 10 minutes. You know, any type of emotional connection, like, I was kind of feeling when Janine went back with June. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, you know, Janine is a good actress. I think that the actress who plays Janine is very good. So, and then it just took it all away. Anyways, that's what I think, and until next time.